Hello, everyone, and greetings. Welcome to this year's Black August, Jonathan Jackson Youth Day. We'll be getting started very shortly. Be sure to share this with your friends, spread it across social media, and get the word out. We'll be starting briefly. Once again, thank you for joining today's live stream. We'll be getting started shortly. Once again, welcome everybody to today's Jonathan Jackson Youth Day live stream. We're excited to get started very shortly, so we will see you in just a moment. Hi, everyone. One more time, thank you for joining us for the Jonathan Jackson Youth Day. We'll be getting started very soon. We appreciate your patience. We have a great program lined up for today. Just one more reminder, be sure to share this on your social media. Take a few moments now before we get started to send it to 10 friends, send it to 20 friends, post it on your Facebook, post it in a group chat, anywhere that you can get it. Once again, greetings. We're about to get started right now. So this is your last chance to go ahead and share this, spread it out, and we're going to get started with the Jonathan Jackson Youth Day soon. So let's go ahead and get rolling with the program. So one more time, hi everyone, and welcome to the 16th annual Jonathan Jackson Youth Day, hosted by Black August Los Angeles. We're very proud to be here right now. My name is Cameron, and I'm joined by Tiana, my co-host, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Tiana to start us off.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm really excited to be here sharing space with you all virtually. I'm Tiana, as Cameron mentioned, and I'm just going to start us off with giving libations to our ancestors, those who have came before us. Particularly, we are going to call on the names of young people who have either had their lives stolen by the hands of white supremacy or at the hand of the criminal injustice system. So I invite you all to join in as we call out these names. I'm not going to pour liquid. That's what you usually do, pouring clear liquid water on the ground. But we will say each individual's name, a little bit about what took them from us. And if you could just join me in saying Ashe after and paying homage to that ancestor, that would be very beautiful. So, of course, we're just going to set an intention and start off with Jonathan Jackson, age 17, a revolutionary murdered by prison guards at the Marin County Courthouse 51 years ago today. Please join me in saying Ashe. Little Bobby Hutton, age 17, one of the first members of the Black Panther Party, murdered by Oakland police in an ambush in 1968. And for him, we say Ashe. Nat Turner, age 31, a revolutionary leader who broke the chains of bondage with the nation's most notorious rebellion against slavery in 1831. And for him, we say Ashe. Nipsey Hussle, age 33, an independent, community-minded hip-hop artist and peacemaker, killed in 2019. For him, we say Ashe. Emmett Till, age 14, tortured and murdered after being falsely accused of flirting with a white woman, and his self-confessed murderers were freed after trial. For him, we say Ashe. Tupac Shakur, age 25, revolutionary rapper and visionary, killed in 1996. Ashe. Latasha Harlings, age 15, shot in the back of the head in 1991 after being falsely accused of trying to steal a bottle of orange juice. For her, we say Ashe. Fred Hampton, age 21, a charismatic master organizer of the Black Panther Party, assassinated by the FBI and Chicago police as he slept in his bed in 1969. For him, we say Ashe. Nina Pop, age 28, a transgender woman who was killed in Missouri in May of last year. For her, we say Ashe. Oluwatoyin Salah, age 19, activist and organizer, murdered in Tallahassee, Florida in June of last year. For her, we say Ashe. Tamir Rice, age 12, murdered for playing with a toy gun by police in Cleveland, Ohio in 2014. For him, we say Ashe. Devin Brown, age 13, murdered by LAPD in 2007 for joyriding. And the killer cop was, of course, not disciplined. For him, we say Ashe. Elijah McClain, age 23, life was stolen by police officers in Colorado in 2019. For him, we say Ashe. Ayanna Stanley Jones, age 7, shot in the head and killed by police in Detroit in 2010. For her, we say Ashe. AJ Weber, age 16, killed by LAPD in 2018. For him, we say Ashe. Breonna Taylor, age 26, senselessly murdered in her own home by police, executing a non-knock warrant in Kentucky just this last year. For her, we say Ashe. Sandra Bland, age 28, who was pulled over for a broken taillight and later found hung in her cell in 2015. For her, we say Ashe. Dante Wright, age 20, who was shot by a police officer in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota on April 11th of this year. For him, we say Ashe. And Ma'Khia Bryant, age 16, who was shot by a Columbus police officer in April of this year as well. For her, we say Ashe. And to all the other names, spoken, unspoken, wherever you're at, we collectively join in saying Ashe, lifting them up, remembering their spirits, just uplifting the Black youth that are faced with the terror of white supremacy, those we have lost and those who are still battling it today. Ashe, thank you for taking the moment with me to give libations to those. And then I will go ahead and pass it on to Cameron to get the rest of the program started there.
Thank you so much, Tiana. That was a really powerful way to open today. We could really spend all day listing names, and there's so many that we couldn't get to, of course, but much respect and ashe to each of those. And once more, I want to welcome everybody to this year's Jonathan Jackson Youth Day, the 16th annual one, commemorating 51 years since the August 7th, 1970 Marin County Courthouse Rebellion. And we're going to talk about that momentous day, that huge day, in just a little bit. But first, let's go ahead and talk about the significance of Black August. So what is Black August? Black August is an annual commemoration of the struggle and resistance of Black people and Black political prisoners throughout the history of our oppression. It was first commemorated in August 1979 inside the prison walls of this country by those who had to create a way to commemorate those who were lost under the conditions of fascist brutality. August is a month full of significance for African people in the United States. The first African people who were enslaved arrived as captives on occupied native land in August 1619. Gabriel Prosser and Nat Turner led revolts of enslaved Africans against white supremacy and chattel slavery in August 1800, and then August 1831 for Nat Turner. The Underground Railroad was initiated in August 1850, and then the March on Washington was in August of 1963, the Watts Rebellion in August 1965. But then there's also really important freedom fighters who were born in August, like Marcus Garvey, Fred Hampton, Maroon Russell Schultz, and Dr. Mutulu Shakur, who remains a political prisoner today. They were all born in August. We've unfortunately lost many people in August as well. Emmett Till, who was mentioned earlier, W.E.B. Du Bois, Jonathan Jackson, who we'll talk about more as well, his older brother George Jackson, and Qatari Golden, all breathed their last breaths in August. We continue the commemoration of Black August to signify that these losses were not in vain, that we haven't forgotten them, and that the cruel murders and tortures of our people can be ended, and that we can win this struggle to be able to venerate all those who we lost along the way. And their spirits will never die so long as we keep them alive through these sorts of commemorations. So I want to thank everyone who's joining. And again, give you one more chance. Go ahead and share this with a friend. Share this in a group chat, and let's get the word out as well as possible that this program's happening right now. So Black August Los Angeles, which both Tiana and myself participate in, we're an organization dedicated to commemorating this month and the sacrifices of African people in the United States every year. So first up, while we bring the tech up, we're going to show a short music video that tells more about the life, the sacrifice, and the importance of Jonathan Jackson, the 17-year-old who changed the world in the Marin County Courthouse Rebellion back in 1970. So I'll give a moment for the video to come up, the Jonathan Jackson music video. One more time. Now is a great time to go ahead and share this, put it on out there and everything. So as I'm sure you can understand, we are going to make sure that the sound works so you can hear the awesome music that's behind this video. But you already got a chance to see a little bit of Jonathan and who he is right there. So we're going to take a little bit of time to pull the video back up and make the sound work. But once again, thank you all for joining, and please go ahead and share this out, and we'll get started.
Jackson. Revolution. Attack is enough. George Jackson. 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 George Jackson. 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 George Jackson. 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 George Jackson. Jackson.
This is the story of Jonathan Jackson. He had the heart of old John Brown, and he had the courage too. They took his brother and they locked him away when Jonathan was young and small. And they left him there until Jonathan Jackson had grown up strong and tall. He was strong and tall. Now he went down to the courthouse one warm and sunny day. That's just a couple miles from the San Quentin prison on the San Francisco Bay. He pulled a carbine out of his trousers and a pistol from his coat. And he said, I am now here. Nobody rocked the boat. Nobody rocked the boat. He said there ain't any justice here, and he tied the judge's hands. He said, I came to get my brother and take him to the freedom land. The deputy freed the prisoners, and out the door they went. They must have thought that old Jonathan Jackson was just about heaven sent. Heaven sent. They hadn't gotten very far before the battle was begun. It wasn't too much longer now before everything was done. Well, old John Brown's ghost was close by crying, for he could plainly see Jonathan Jackson just lost his life trying to set his brother free. Was trying to set his brother free. Now this is the story of the whispering thunder that echoes across this land. This is the story of the whispering thunder that talks to every man. This is the story of one young brother with the blood boiling in his veins. This is the story of the whispering thunder that comes before the rain. Before the rain. Before the rain.
Thank you all so much, and that was an amazing tribute, wasn't it? Yeah, this is a video created by Harold Welton and David Dang. The singer is Jeffrey Kane. The song is called Whispering Thunder, if you want to look it up. And there was also some music from Steel Pulse as well toward the beginning. And just mentioning as well that Harold and David were able to produce the thrilling and inspiring documentary, Jackson, Not Just a Name. You can learn a lot more if you attend a screening of that sometime soon. It's award-winning. Definitely go check it out. So in this Marin County Courthouse rebellion, we lost Jonathan Jackson, who was 17, William Christmas, who was 27, and James McLean, who was 37, as the young Jonathan led them in a struggle to escape the tortures of prison. It was a truly historic and earth-shaking moment in California's history, in U.S. history, and in the history of Black struggle globally. It was a clarion call for Black freedom and the end of unjust imprisonment. Jonathan Jackson was attempting to free his older brother, George Jackson, from the clutches of prison, alongside two Soledad brothers, Fleta Drumgo and John Cluchette. They were able to escape the courtroom, but prison guards and other law enforcement shot them in a van outside the court, even killing one of their own judges in the process. But as George Jackson commented, Jonathan was free, at least for a moment. The only survivor of that incident, of all the people who rebelled, was Rochelle McGee, who we're going to talk about much later in the program as well. But Jonathan Jackson, William Christmas, and James McLean lost their lives, and we honor them on a day like this. It's now been 51 years since that historic day. So it's really important that we remember this as a legitimate rebellion of oppressed and enslaved people against a brutally oppressive system with grievances that Jonathan and the escaped Africans believed could only be rectified through the actions that they took on that date. Jonathan Jackson has inspired so many youth and adults to always fight for their liberation, no matter what stands in our way. And you can read some of his words in books like Blood in My Eye by George Jackson. And his story really shows that the youth are willing to sacrifice their own lives and everything that they have for the freedom of their people. So I'll read some of his older brother George's words from the monumental book published after the author's death, Blood in My Eye. George said, Jonathan was my brother and closest comrade. I knew him. He took complete control of himself. He learned every weapon in the human arsenal, from the flying side thrust foot attack and the quick draw snapshot to the manufacture and use of mortar. He was 17 years old when he died in the service of his people, on the side of the black colonies, and with the courage of the whole colonized world. So right there, I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Tiana to lead us into the rest of this program.
Yeah, thank you, Cameron. Those words that you just gave and gave all that background was really important and powerful, especially the excerpt you just read. But yeah, first I want to share an amazing piece of poetry written and performed by three sisters named Shaddai, Jaleisha, and Alondra. So they're going to show you the full range of the struggle of young Black women through a play on the hit 2000s cartoon, The Powerpuff Girls. So I'd like to present to you all the Panther Puff Girls. So we'll just give a moment for tech to pull up that video, and I hope y'all enjoy this really fun and empowering piece that we're about to see.
Brown sugar,
seasoning spice,
and hair with no life.
These are the ingredients chosen to create the perfect little girl.
But Professor Utonium accidentally added an extra ingredient to the mix.
Malcolm X! That's the Panther Puzzle born. All Black pride and pretty Blossom,
Bubbles,
and Buttercup have dedicated their lives to fighting the murder of joy in their community. Dun, dun, dun.
The city of Brownsville is a magical place.
A town where girls like us can be in full bloom. My name is Blossom. I am the rose that grew from concrete, a flower fed on Black love. My roots run deep.
My name is Bubbles. I was created from grease and giggles, blew me up into 3D. Octi says I'm iridescent.
My name is Buttercup. I got power in this puff. They call me Spice because my tongue knows how to hit heavy.
We are babies of ionic compound.
Beautiful brown with a splash of chemical X activism.
I think Malcolm would be proud of our mojo.
Jojo, we got too much nuts. Let anyone turn us ghosts. So I can see why they green with envy. But I'll keep my garden got grin stuck to my cheeks. Won't let nothing steal this Black girl happy.
I be brown buoyancy at its finest.
Because they can't drag you down when you got hope shackled to your feet. I be a sunflower, shea butter sister to the sun, a magnolia mother to the mud,
the ocean and orchid orphan I adopted in a hug.
When our fists are held high,
hierarchy will never apply
to cultural sisters, pretty Black souls, Panther ideals be popping.
You can't dilute a perfect mix between
Black and proud. We just got a call from the mayor. Oh no! Mr. America teamed up with Captain Cultural Appropriation. They must be stopped. Panther Puffs, let's go! Mr. America, I won't let you pressure me to be as pretty as your privilege. Panther Puffs push back with a punch. Captain Appropriation.
We won't let you kiss the bucket limits. Our kids with kidnap, cruelty, and kill it with kindness.
Kapow! Boys always want to battle brown with their banner. Want to see Black bruise, but I won't back down from this battle. Bam! We pick out bad guys with picks.
Booby traps consist of hair grease.
We'll save the day with a fist. 507 baby hairs with edge control.
Didn't anyone tell you that here we won't allow our hair to be the reason we get picked on?
We pick it out. Did anyone tell you they try not to serve us at a restaurant? We spit it out. Didn't anyone tell you that it was brown women who birthed the boycott? That it was Black girls who braved Birmingham bombs? We still Black power far away from the smoke. Came out covered in cinder, stood in sacrifice, and still set us on fire. Why you think we so hot?
Our curls are still southern, slick and sedity.
My people stay live. Every day we look death in the face and still survive. And still survive. And still survive.
I love this war even when it don't love me back.
Even when it don't love this Black.
So
Most days when you're clothed in this color, it feels like a cloak of beauty and visibility. But I've learned to wear this cape courageously.
And I won't let captain appropriation take it away from me.
Don't take this kindness for weakness.
Cause this presidential panther pussy grabs back even when I pedal people with water with hoses.
Like Sims, we still stand tall.
Mr. America, didn't you know that we don't drown, we grow. We be the Panther Puff girls,
all black pride
and pretty.
Yes, that was so powerful and chilling at moments. Yes, I would just like to thank these young sisters for their contagious spirit, energy, confidence, for delivering such a message as young people that I think we definitely need to hear. Particularly the trauma and just all the things that we as Black women have to endure and that we have endured over the generations. It's really powerful to hear those young sisters deliver such an amazing message and preserve that memory and encourage us, to fight back. I really love that. Have to watch it again after this. Get me going for my days. But next, I want to take a moment to just acknowledge the significance and the importance of youth in the struggle for our people's liberation. So, when we think about those who have come before us in this fight, we often think of our ancestors, right? We think of our elders, and we think of those who have departed long ago. But as seen during our ceremony of libations at the beginning, our fallen freedom fighters and those we have lost at the hands of white supremacy, often we lost when they were in their youth. For instance, Jonathan Jackson, who this whole celebration, this whole commemoration is about, we lost at the age of 17 when he took his first, his courageous actions that we are so inspired by so many years later. Whether that be Alua Toyin Salah, who we said her name earlier, who was a fierce Black Lives Matter activist who was murdered a little over a year ago at only 19, whether that be Emmett Till, who was murdered at 14. He would have been celebrating his 80th birthday this month, actually on the 27th, if he hadn't been taken from us and murdered so callously 66 years ago. Or whether that be Trayvon Martin, who may not have been actively fighting in the struggle, but because, he became known because of his tragic death. And we know that was nothing short of a product of white supremacy at the end of the day, right? So I think the various ways in which our youth have been and are being lost in the struggle reminds us of the immense need for our youth to remain in that struggle and to remain fighting for our people's liberation today. So I myself personally, just speaking from experience, I didn't really understand the necessity of youth until reading Conrad George's works, Soledad Brother and Blood in My Eye, and learning about Jonathan and his revolutionary actions my junior year in college, actually, when my mentor told me to look into the prisoners movement and told me that I needed to really learn this history if I wanted to really partake in the fight in a way, because rather than trying to reinvent the wheel, going to our ancestors, going to our elders and getting that knowledge and that information is ultimately the first place to start. And as I was reading Conrad George's works, I was reminded of how his words still resonate with us today, but also reminded of, or I guess I should say, like, kind of felt his absence, because he was only 30 years old when he was murdered, which, we could say 30 years young. That's also youth if we want to talk about the youth, right? And yet his insights, his political philosophies, the amount of knowledge that he was able to gather in such a short period of time while incarcerated, and then make sure he got that down on paper for all of us to have all these generations later is so, I don't even know, it's just astounding. It's really astounding, and it's really important, and it should be inspiring for all of us as youth, because our access to knowledge today as young people is far greater than what Conrad George, than what Jonathan Jackson, than what all of our fallen freedom fighters had at their disposal in their day. So we really have no excuse. I just want to remind us that we have no excuse not to reach out to our elders and simply sit and listen and learn from them and ask for their guiding hand, and just ask to be guided to this knowledge that we so desperately need as we continue to partake in the fight for liberation and struggle against all systems of oppression. And, take action. Ultimately, I also wanted to remind us that fighting to dismantle all systems of oppression, fighting for liberation is a true act of love. Just bringing that in there because I feel like often we don't discuss how, as young people, we always say we want to find love, and we're very confused by this capitalist system that has all these different messages coming out to us. But a true act of love is fighting for the liberation of all peoples, as Comrade George said. It is. We must do what must be done. We must discover our humanity and our love in revolution. And in the words of Assata Shakur, which people are constantly saying, but I think we need to slow it down when we say it, perhaps, that it is our duty to fight for our freedom, and it is our duty to win, and that in that we must love each other, we must support each other, and we have nothing to lose but our chains. So in this process of fighting to lose our chains, whether that be mental, emotional, physical for some of us, right, we have to encourage each other as young people to stay in the fight, that fighting for liberation is a true act of love, and that with love, we can never go wrong. So I really just wanted to dedicate this moment in discussing the importance of youth in the struggle to those we have lost as youth in the struggle, Comrade George, Jonathan, Chip Fitzgerald, all these different names. But also I just wanted to remind us that so many of young people are being taken from the streets, taken from their homes where they belong, and being thrown into concentration camps. And that's something that we also have to focus on, as our youth being taken from us and them being forced to fight for liberation and fight that battle inside those camps. So for instance, that's where Comrade George started his politicization, Michelle McGee, Chip Fitzgerald, and many others. So we cannot forget those who are being locked away. Make sure we stay in touch with them and that we're reaching out to those youth, because they're just as important, obviously, right? And it's our duty to fight for their freedom as well. So please don't forget them. Let's continue to say their names. With that, I do want to also make sure that we say Josh Williams' name. He was a protester at Ferguson back in 2014, and he was incarcerated because of his revolutionary actions at that protest, and he's still incarcerated today. He's a political prisoner, so let's just continue to raise him up and support him and fight for his freedom as well. With that, I wanted to now segue to another poetry break. This poem is from a young man by the name of Malcolm London. It's titled High School Training Ground. I've personally always been in awe of Malcolm London. I found him when I was first in high school, and I just really fell in love with the spoken word. But this particular poem resonates with me, and I think a lot of young people, because it's talking about the hypocrisies of the K through 12 education system that, America calls the education system, right? That's just rooted in false narratives, hypocrisies, lies overall, and the struggles that Black people in particular have to endure every day in their lives, and then also going back into that system that is kind of set up to fail us. And just as a reminder that we need to continue going to our elders and to those that we know have the true knowledge and the true education, and continue building and learning upon that. So so as now we can just, I guess, transition to that next poetry break, or next poem, High School Training Ground by Malcolm London. So take a second to pull that up.
At 7:45 a.m., I opened the doors to a building dedicated to building, yet only breaks me down. I march down hallways cleaned up after me every day by regular janitors, but I never had the decency to honor their names. Lockers left open like teenage boys' mouths when teenage girls wear clothes that covers the insecurities but exposes everything else. Masculinity mimicked by men who grew up with no fathers. Camouflage worn by bullies who are dangerously armed but need hugs. Teachers pay less than what it cost them to be here. Oceans of adolescents come here to receive lessons, but never learn to swim. Part like the Red Sea when the bell rings. This is a training ground. My high school is Chicago, diverse and segregated on purpose. Social lines are barbed wire. Labels like regulars and honors resonate. I am an honors, but go home with regular students who are soldiers in territory that owns them. This is a training ground to sort out the regulars from the honors, a reoccurring cycle built to recycle the trash of this system. Trained at a young age to capitalize, letters taught now that capitalism raises you, but you have to step on someone else to get there. This is a training ground where one group is taught to lead and the other is made to follow. No wonder so many of my people spit bars, because the truth is hard to swallow. The need for degrees has left so many people frozen. Homework is stressful. But when you go home every day and your home is work, you don't want to pick up any assignments. Reading textbooks is stressful, but reading does not matter when you feel your story is already written, either dead or getting booked. Taking tests is stressful, but bubbling in a Scantron does not stop bullets from bursting. I hear education systems are failing, but I believe they're succeeding at what they're built to do, to train you, to keep you on track, to track down an American dream that has failed so many of us all.
Right. That was really just amazing as well. Big hand to Malcolm. And I also want to thank Tiana for those amazing words and that the poem that you decided to share. I think they go really well together and they help inspire me to keep this struggle up. So the last thing that we want to really cover and share on today's Youth Day Agenda program might be a bit of a surprise. If you remember the name Ruchell Magee from earlier, you may recall that he's the only survivor of the August 7th rebellion led by Jonathan Jackson. In other words, it's almost like the state couldn't punish Jonathan Jackson any further because they murdered him. They couldn't punish James McClain any further because they murdered him. And they couldn't punish William Christmas anymore because they already murdered him. So their brutality only left them with a few options to enact their revenge. Of course, they were going to enact that revenge on anybody associated with George and Jonathan, anybody associated with the movement to free political prisoners and to educate prisoners about our true history. So it seems like they focused on Ruchell Magee and keeping him in prison for as long as possible to spite the spirit of that rebellion and to spite the spirit of the revolution. Not because he murdered anyone, because he didn't. He was even acquitted of that in court. Not because he planned that rebellion, because he didn't. He didn't know what Jonathan Jackson was doing when he entered the room, but the young Ruchell decided to roll the dice, in a sense, and join their move for liberation, because he thought that was the only way that he could get out the truth that he was in jail unjustly for, nearly a decade at that point. So Ruchell remains in jail today in 2021, and after 58 years of incarceration in California, he's known as the longest held political prisoner in the United States. To go back to the beginning of Ruchell's story, he was born in Louisiana on March 17, 1939, in the depths of the Jim Crow South. He was first arrested at age 16 in 1955, which, remember, is the same year that Emmett Till was lynched for the accusation with Emmett Till's case of whistling at a white woman, flirting with a white woman. And Ruchell was booked for the accusation of rape by a much older white woman in the middle of KKK territory. He was given an all-white jury who sentenced him to 8 hard years in the notorious Angola State Prison, which is a former slave plantation. After his release, he moved to California, where he was thrown in jail again on a trumped-up charge around a marijuana deal gone wrong. So while Rochelle is an elder today because he's 82 years old, he turned 82 in March of this year, we recognize that his entire youth was stolen from him. From Jim Crow racism in his childhood to the Angola State Prison to being shuffled up and down the California prison system, the man has been in jail of some form ever since he was 16. And then when you really think about it, life in the Jim Crow South, much like life in white supremacist United States today, is a lot like an open air prison for Black folks. So in other words, this is a person who hasn't gotten to experience much outside of jail in his entire life. Rochelle said it best when he said, slavery 400 years ago, slavery today, it's the same but with a new name. So at the beginning of the program, we gave libations to those who were murdered in their youth, those who were stolen from us by either bullets or some other untimely death. And at the end of the program, we would like to commemorate someone who's kept his chin high, kept his spirit strong, and kept fighting, although never knowing a day of peace ever since his youth. Rochelle was robbed of his youth in a different way than those we mentioned at the beginning, but we still have the opportunity to help him toward his own release. And that's what inspires our fight, so that the youth of today don't become the martyrs or the political prisoners of tomorrow. So there's an organization known as the Coalition to Free Rochelle McGee. Black August Los Angeles is a founding supporter of the coalition, and we want to take a moment now to encourage you to visit a few websites. First, as you can see on the screen, is www.freerochellemcgee.org. One more time, www.freerochellemcgee.org. When you go to that website, you can learn more about Rochelle's case. You can sign up to endorse the campaign. You can figure out how to write to Rochelle or write to the bodies that have the power to release him now. And you can also sign our petitions for his release. We've got 2 of them. And once you visit the website, you're able to very easily find those. If you want to go ahead and look up one of those websites right now, one of them is called bit.ly/freerochelle. So one more time, bit.ly/freerochelle to join over 900 other people in signing the petition to Governor Gavin Newsom to immediately release Rochelle because his office has the power to do so. Finally, you can write a digital letter to Newsom's office by visiting bit.ly/write, the number 4, Rochelle. One more time, bit.ly/write, 4, the number, Rochelle. So when you go and you've completed both of those actions, the work isn't over, of course. We don't think that just the petition is going to be what it takes to free him. We don't think that just the letter is going to free him. But by visiting those websites, you can join in the movement, join in what we're doing, and you can spread the word about these websites. Go ahead and share them on your Facebooks, your Twitters, your Instagrams, all social media, and stay connected by signing up for emails on www.freerochellemcgee.org, because we can free Rochelle with a mass united movement across this country and across the world. We have to free Rochelle McGee. Just like we're remembering all these people that were lost, Rochelle remembers those days. And I think we're all looking forward to the day that we can actually commemorate Black August and the sacrifices of his comrades with Rochelle on this side of the prison walls. So this is something, we can do this with you, but we can't do this without you. We need your support. So visit www.freerochellemcgee.org. So we send our love and our respect to Rochelle, our partner, our mentor, our freedom fighter. Free Rochelle McGee. So Tiana, are you ready to just close us out?
Yeah, and with that, I wanted to say, free Rochelle McGee and free all political prisoners. Thank you so much, Cameron, for giving us that very detailed information. You can see the links scrolling at the bottom, so please make sure you head to those links. And thank you all so much for joining us today for Youth Day, for sharing some virtual space with us and honoring the legacy of Jonathan Jackson and so many other youth, and just reminding one another of the importance of each other, of youth in this struggle. So you could catch this video, this replay on Black August LA's Facebook group or Black August LA calendar page on Facebook. So if you missed it, or if you just want to watch it again, or if you want to share it with folks, please head to those Facebook pages and just make sure to stay connected with us. Be on the lookout for more upcoming events, particularly this month. And yeah, thank you all so much. It was really a pleasure. And we hope to see you all again soon.